So our country seems to be over the last year, or yeah, I guess just over a year, seems to have been living in a crisis. All right. So whether or not that crisis is legitimate, there's a lot of political turmoil. There's been a lot of cultural turmoil, and then with COVID, there's been, you could call it, medical or safety turmoil in the country. And so one of our challenges as leaders is, how do we navigate our organizations when there is an impending crisis or what feels like a crisis? So if the people that work for you are feeling the weight of crisis, then one of the questions for you as a leader, one of the jobs or obligations you have as a leader, is how do I lead through that crisis? And so this may be okay if the COVID situation has put a lot of pressure on your organization and there's some uncertainty about the future, or maybe you live in an area where there was a lot of protesting and riots and things going on that left the community or your company with this sense of uncertainty or uneasiness. Or maybe there's questions surrounding, okay, what does a new presidential election and all that mean for our organization? So those are all things that may create uncertainty. And what makes a crisis so difficult is that it creates uncertainty about what things look like in the future. And so one of your jobs as a leader is to navigate through that and to lead well through that. So I want to give you four tips or four things to keep in mind as you're navigating during a crisis. So number one would be to know the issue and to stay up to date about it. And here's what I mean by this. So it's helpful to know what is going on. So you don't want to have the mentality of burying your head in the sand. Now your goal is not to become like an expert in the crisis, but you want to understand the things that are creating uncertainty for your people, to know those well and be able to speak intelligently on those. So number two is that you want to hold on to core values at your organization. All right, that may sound a little strange, but we talked about in past videos about the need for your company to have a vision, and part of that vision is core values. And those core values are things that no matter what happens, you never let go of. So it's sort of the soul of the organization, or the things that are so ingrained in you that even if you lost money, if the business went down the tube, you still would not give up those things. So it's important. People need to know and feel and buy into the things that are unchanging. So in many ways, they're a solid foundation of the organization. And people need to feel confident and comfortable with those things. Number three is that you need to communicate regularly so that people feel like they're in the know. So one of the things that is most troubling to people, especially when there's uncertainty or unrest, is to not feel like you're in the know, to feel like you're in the dark about what's going on. So let's say that COVID, for instance, has taken, your company's taken a big hit because of it. So one of the things you want to do is make sure that people are in the know about what's going on. That they know the real impacts of whatever the crisis is. And you can communicate that clearly so people feel like, hey, we're getting the information. We know what reality is. And sometimes reality is tough to swallow, but it's helpful if the leader is the person in charge of delivering what that reality is instead of finding it second and third hand. And then lastly, on top of this, and this one's crucial, is that you're always a communicator of hope. You're a purveyor of hope. So as a leader, you always have to be looking forward and communicating something hopeful for the team that you're striving towards. So as humans, we can't live life without hope. Like, it's something that God has hardwired into us, where we look forward to better days. Okay, even in death, we look forward to something better beyond that. So we're hardwired in that way. And as leaders, we need to be purveyors of that hope. Okay, and it's our job to craft that message, to know what that is, to make sure that hope is something that's real. Like, you're not creating a false narrative for somebody, but you're communicating something that is real. That's part of reality, something that you're striving for as an organization, and you're wanting them to come along beside you to be a part of that. So in times of uncertainty, and I think it's fair to say we live in some of those times, It's important for you to lead well through that by understanding the issues and staying up to date, by holding on to your core values and the foundation that makes you who you are, to communicate well and not keep your team in the dark, and be a purveyor of hope. So do that, and you will likely engender a following in your organization, and people will trust your leadership during this time.